I guess a question going back to one of the questions we were asking in the beginning, thinking about liability and sort of duty of care, so to speak. So if, are there situations where the vendor is responsible for fixing the malfunction, or will it always be the operator?
I mean, when the vendor's out of compliance, it's the vendor's responsibility to fix the malfunction. But the carrier still has a requirement to have their record of duty. So it's kind of a two-part. So in terms of fixing the malfunction, bringing that device into a compliance, that's the vendor's responsibility. But then the carrier still has a secondary responsibility to actually maintain the record of duty status, just like they would, because they've got a malfunction in existence, they have a requirement to maintain their record of duty status.
It's still going to kind of be the same as it is today. Our vendor jurisdiction relies over that registration process and that self-certification. Either they are or they're not. That's kind of where that lies. But as far as a malfunction, once again, if we're going to hold the motor carrier responsible, for that functionality of that ELD. So.
And I guess a follow-up question on malfunctions again. So where should a carrier be advised to record that malfunction? Obviously, currently they would have in the record of duty status a form and manner error, right? But so with the case of a malfunction, how do they record that in their files? Does it go into the driver qualification file? Does it go into like a DVIR because it's a structural, hardware type of thing? Where does that get recorded?
Okay, as far as where we say record it, in the ELD rule does not address that. The only thing that it requires is that the driver notify the motor carrier in writing within 24 hours, because that motor carrier now has that responsibility to get that device up and running within 8 days. So in your shopping or following up with the provider you've already gone with, this is something you need to ask them how they're going to handle it. How many customer service days is it going to take me to get a software correction or to get a device replaced? Or can you give me a service manual that's got different locations throughout the country that can actually work on this device rather than getting the driver to pack it up and send it in, etc. So these are some of those shopping questions once again. Now, when I said that the driver has to report that malfunction, to you within 24 hours, has to be in writing. Now, of course, we do, accept, electronic messaging, so that in writing could transpose to a text message, a fleet management system message, an email, etc. It should be documented. As far as where you keep that, I mean, you can have your, the rule doesn't specify where you keep it. You should retain it, though, to make sure that you can back up that malfunction. There is the process of an extension if you have like a catastrophic event. If you've got 300 coaches and you get the blue screen of death, which is kind of like a Microsoft software just glitch malfunction, and it's going to take longer than that 8 days. You do have the option to go through the division office within your state to ask for an extension. It's a case-by-case basis. How long that extension will be is going to be depending on the event that has occurred. So keep in mind that is there. But as far as that documentation, we do not specify where you keep it. You can keep it in your maintenance file. You can keep it in your ELD file, just as long as that information is retained, and you can provide it if the case comes up that we need to review that process that's happened.
That might be a recommendation, at least from hopefully this discussion, that maybe there will be some kind of guidance on the treatment of that type of supporting documentation.
Right.